Tiffany here with Years of Years and
Brad.
and it's this day in Disney for September 16th.
Somebody's birthday.
It's my birthday. It's my this day in Disney. Sort of. But anyway, to start off, we're actually going to talk about a Silly Symphony.
Oh, I love those.
Yes, from 1933.
Yeah.
And hopefully you watched it.
Yeah, we used to just stream like playlists of Silly Symphony.
Mm-hmm.
Watch them right through.
Yeah, they were awesome. So this was the Pied Piper.
Oh,
right.
very good one.
It was based on the Pied Piper of Hamelin and directed by Wilfred Jackson. This short is part of, like I said, the Silly Symphonies, and it's actually on Disney Plus right now, so you can go watch it. And
you had me watch it.
That's right.
Yeah. And it is awesome. I mean, I think the Pied Piper story itself is probably one of the most frightening fairy tales, or completely. I mean, as parents, abduction, just so frightening. But first problem they have is the rats, and the rats being animated is awesome. I mean, if you imagine like marching ants, that's how they made the rats look on the housetops and over the bridge and
They're everywhere.
And they're even like throwing objects like at the humans and taking the rat traps that are set for them to use as like catapults to bust open windows and stuff. I mean, very, very active. And but the people ask the mayor to do something about it.
Right.
And he offers a big bag of gold. Go ahead.
Right. The rats are definitely like a huge problem that they can't solve on their own.
And they have like Mickey ears, which is so interesting.
It is.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
And so...
Yeah, he offers a bag of gold.
Yeah.
A Pied Piper shows up and says, I will take that bag of gold. And immediately he clears the town of rats. And the thing that I found interesting about the Pied Piper in this one is that he's not just an enchanter, he is an illusionist. He like creates a huge like chunk of cheese for all the rats to like go into, and he does transmutation. He like has the cheese disappear and like transport the rats to another land.
We don't know where. We don't know what happens to the rats.
Yeah. But of course he comes back
for the gold.
And the mayor doesn't give the gold.
Right.
And I mean,
therein lies the problem. I mean, this is a clear betrayal. Right. You don't
untrustworthy.
You don't say you're going to do something and someone helps you and then you don't follow through.
Yeah.
And they mocked him and laughed at him and
called him a loon.
Right. Tosses like a dime down at him and stuff. It's not good.
Yeah. And
it's kind of like as well with Beauty and the Beast, with the enchantress that comes and how the beast treats her. I mean, these things are throughout folklore and history, and they give you kind of like a test. And the Pied Piper is another example of being tested and what the people do with that test, and they failed, and so they pay a pretty big price.
They do. And I love the animation on the Pied Piper. It's very interesting. A lot of times, I mean, we do have like, I think, spring in one of the Silly Symphonies, like the human has rubber hose animation, but the Pied Piper as a human is animated with rubber hoses, like feet and his arms, just like Mickey, have no joints. They're all like rubber hose. And but it's very interesting because the cartoon states that he is saving them from the disloyalty of this community.
Well, so that they don't grow up to become like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has the children follow him just like the rats, of course. I mean, most of us know this story, but it's amazing.
Yeah, I found that really interesting.
They have a handicapped child on crutches, a little bit slow, like behind the group, and even a stork comes to deliver babies, and the stork takes the children with him. So this town is left with no children. But whenever I said he was a transmutation, he like changes the side of the mountain and opens it up, and they all go in, and inside is this happy land.
Joyland.
Yeah.
Toyland.
And which was interesting you say that.
Right.
Because we're familiar with that song, Toyland, Toyland. Apparently, originally, it was Joyland, Joyland, and it's all about this Joyland. And the child with the crutches gets healed right before he enters in. I mean, so he's a healer too, but that's where it ends. There's no, like in the story, the children, I believe, are returned. They don't leave it that way in the Walt Disney short.
I don't think they are
returned. The children are gone, but they're happy and they're healed,
it depends on who's
and they're
telling the story.
in happy land. So it was amazing.
It's just like with all folk tales, like it depended on who, you know, because all these stories, people usually just sat around or worked or whatever and told stories to each other. So it just depended on who was telling the story.
Sure, the Grimm brothers say that they took stories from all over Europe.
Yeah, so these, you know, the Disney production guys, you know, that's how they chose to tell those stories.
That's
so
amazing.
it was really interesting. I like their tell on it, and like all, you know, many of the things that they did, they were positive. They had like a bright ending, you know, to the stories that in the past could be very scary.
So depending on your perspective, it was a bright ending or no resolution. I mean, their children were lost. So
but they were awful parents.
apparently.
I mean, they're pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like the parents needed some parenting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it was cool. You guys just go watch it.
Disney
Obviously, we could go on and on about one Silly Symphony. So we really love Disney history. All right, so next up on This Day in Disney in 1991, Muppets on Location Days of Swine and Roses opens at MGM, that's what it was called at the time, in MGM Studios in Walt Disney World, Florida. So this was really interesting. It was really cool. This is actually, the plot revolves around the Muppets filming a movie, and the Muppets are
full size.
Yeah, they're full-size Muppets.
Human size.
And they sing and they dance.
I don't know that it translates well. I mean, Animal's great coming out on the drum set, but you know, Miss Piggy looks right. Maybe Fozzie looks a little bit right, but Kermit, obviously, thicker arms, thicker legs.
He's
you know,
like the
it's
size
interesting.
of us. It is really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're doing like a song and dance a lot. I found that really interesting because they're wearing these full-size costumes. They're full-size people. The stage is not very big.
They can't really
and
see well.
they can't see. And I'm surprised that they didn't fall off or knock into each other.
Yeah, hats
like,
off.
A little suspenseful there.
Heads off.
Yeah, it actually opened 2 weeks after Here Come the Muppets attraction closed, and it played for almost 3 years.
Wow.
It was over near Muppets 3D. It had like its own brick and mortar looking
I can't even place
stage.
it. Yeah.
So off to the left.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Where, like,
all
Rizzo's
Star
is, or-
Wars. No,
Okay.
like
Back where the main street used to, or where the streets of Hollywood used to be.
back that way.
Okay.
Heading that way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it closed in 1994, but it was interesting.
It was.
Full-size Muppets, and
Love that
I
animal.
liked Kermit though.
Yeah.
Personally, I thought it was kind of cute. His outfits are really snazzy.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of neat seeing him that size.
And the person portraying him like kicked his leg really high to like
my
show
gosh.
off like a frog's flexibility. So it was kind of cool.
Seriously, like
Yeah,
straight up.
high kicking.
Yeah. So, you know, this made me look into all the things that Muppets have done. Like, we'll cover them in the future, but there's just a lot that the Muppets have showed up at the parks. And so we had talked about Jim Henson recently, and
They're at opening day replacing his hands in Kermit's hands. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then
And
shortly
Father
thereafter
Chinese
passing
Theater.
away.
Right after.
But he definitely was working with the Disney company and had a lot of involvement, and this was his voice. I mean, that was his, you know, as Kermit until he passed away. So when you see all these different stage shows, that's Jim Henson's voice, which is pretty cool too. So like we had talked about Muppet Lab 3D over at Epcot, remember with
Oh yes,
yeah, those were awesome. And then also the Muppets Present Great Moments in American History. That's over.
Man.
So that ended last summer.
They're not bringing it back? It's not temporary?
They're not bringing it back.
That's crazy.
And I'm trying to find out why. I was like Googling, like trying to figure out if I could find any, I just don't know why.
The relationship with the Henson family is outrageous.
Well, and during the time that this particular show, Great Moments in American History, the current voice of Kermit is actually not working with them anymore
as of
well.
A year and a half ago.
So,
he's very upset about it.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's part of why it's not there right now.
Could
if
be.
They need new footage or not footage, but voice acting. So I'm not really sure. I couldn't find it, but anyway, this was only there for 3 years as well. So these little shows with the Muppets, they don't ever keep them there super long, but so we never saw this.
Yeah.
So that's okay, but we did see Great Moments. And
many times. Love it.
yeah, we love it. So we're really going to miss that one. But yeah, very interesting.
Indeed.
So that's it for this day in Disney. And I guess we'll go party because it's
Happy
my
birthday.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.